Okay, so we have not many options. We've got our record collection, get some rest, order lunch with the Dean, or meet Remy. Let's see Remy. How are you doing, Mr. Remy, sir? Thank you again for helping me the other day. Without you, I would have been trapped sorting books for a few more hours. Inviting you over for dinner is the least I can do. It's no problem. Besides, I'm also here to learn more about your kind. Spending some time in the library is only appropriate. Cool. My gratitude is yours regardless. Anyways, is there anything in particular you'd like to eat? Anything steak? Meat? Vegetarian? I don't know, steak. You're in luck. I do have a few steaks we could dine upon. Let us dine. This might take a while. Make yourself at home. Alright, cheers. With those words, Remy walked into the partially walled off kitchen. There was no door, so I saw him open the fridge and take out 2 steaks before he set them on the counter. Soon after, he was already preparing the various ingredients with his somewhat clumsy paws. He was silent for a moment, then lifted his snout and looked at me from over the partition. Yo, what's up? Yeah, I was just thinking about something. I can help you cook if you want. Don't worry about it. Okay. I looked around the apartment as Remy cooked and couldn't help but notice the almost mesmerising tidiness that permeated the place. Shelves were filled with books, scrolls, magazines and other various trinkets. Suddenly, the repetitious noise of vegetables being cut ceased as Remy returned from the adjoining room. Back in a minute. Okay. Went down the hall and vanished through the bathroom door. Okay, what do I do? Let's check out the shelves. What you got? I moved over to the shelves and idly looked through the books and scrolls. Nothing particularly caught my eye. From the titles alone, it seemed all genres were more or less well represented, fiction and non-fiction alike. The scrolls were neatly sorted into holders, though I couldn't make out the logical consistency behind their arrangement. Okay, let's check out the anatomy section. Okay, looks detailed. I'm not quite sure what I expected. Okay, let's look at the pictures. What's on the wall? I picked up one of the framed photos to examine it more closely. It was a red dragon. I guessed that it was a female of young adult or college age, though I wasn't sure, as it was still hard to tell without looking at the obvious signs. Her crimson scaled head was adorned with frills that ran down the back of her neck. She wasn't familiar to me. Well, look at more pictures. The second picture showed Remy in his typical attire, tie glasses and all. He's back. Bathroom door opened and revealed the white dragon. As he approached, I felt my stomach grumble quietly. Wow, that's the real grumble there. I barely heard the muffled sound, but when I saw Remy's ears perk, I realised he had more sensitive ears than I expected. Hungry already? You got it. Yeah, I'm totally hungry. Lift your shirt, what the fuck? I'm so empty. Fill me up. Well, I'll give you something to fill up your belly with soon. After entering the kitchen once more, I saw the dragon looked over the kitchen partition again. His mouth opened a little, as though he were going to speak, but his brow scrunched with hesitation. Before I could say anything, he shook his head and continued to cook. Soon, I heard the sizzling of frying meat as the delicious smell of steak wafted into the room. Fueled by its fragrant odour, I slowly lost myself to daydreams as I closed my eyes. That steak. What's wrong? You're salivating. Well, I'm hungry. I was just thinking about something. Well, food is ready. Eat it. I looked down and saw that a plate was already in front of me, piled with steak and vegetables. Remy was already eating, so I took the knife he'd provided to cut off a small corner of the steak. Then I pierced it with the fork, its 3 prongs penetrating the flesh unrelentingly. Slowly, I raised it to my mouth, and my tongue glided over the bare substance briefly as it entered my lips. What's with the pornographic food descriptions? I took the first bite, a delicately crisp exterior, with a much softer and juicy inside. It melted on my tongue like butter as the taste spread to even the remotest corner of my mouth. It was almost perfect. So, what are you thinking about? Yeah? Remy's words snapped me back to reality. You said you're thinking about something. Do you live here by yourself? I was thinking about the murders. I met Emma recently. Why did you use the stove to cook? Nothing in particular. I don't know. Emma is not very nice to Remy. I don't really want to bring her up. Why did you use a stove to cook? Let's talk about the food. I mean, can't you just use your fire? Well, for one, not all of us have that ability. Besides, we still appreciate the convenience that comes with appliances like this one, and not everyone wants to eat food cooked with somebody else's breath. That's a hygiene thing. Breathing fire indoors is also a little unsafe. That's a good point. Okay. Do you live here by yourself? I do. Honestly, you're the first person to visit in a while. He spoke softly and his gaze wandered. Oh, I see. Thank you again for inviting me. Okay. I was thinking about the murders. What a terrible thing. People could be so cruel sometimes. They can be. Where I come from, incidences like this are unfortunately fairly common. Truly, here it's almost unheard of. One just needs to take a look at the statistics to realise that this is very unusual, or just an exceptionally bad week. Okay, shall we talk about Emerald? Is that okay? You met my boss? Yeah, she's horrible. She's hanging around Taxi Park. She certainly does that a lot. Let me give you one piece of advice. Don't ever work for a politician. Okay, conversation's done. How'd you like the food? It is delicious. I suppose you learn to cook well when you live on your own for long enough. He's a proper bachelor, this one. Okay, soon both of our plates were picked clean. I guess I judged your portion correctly, unless you want more. No, I'm good. Thank you. That was an interesting steak. What kind of meat was that? Those are aurochs steaks. Are you familiar with that animal? I can't say I am. I may have heard of an aurochs before. Okay. They are a rather large bovine mammal characterised by their horns and body shape. It's a cow. We get a range of products from them, from meat and milk to subproducts like butter and cheese. In addition to leather, felt, oils and creams, we can even use their horns and bones for a variety of things. Yeah, that sounds like a cow. Speaking of unfamiliar creatures, why don't you tell me more about your species? You referring to me, or all of us? Our society is comprised of a number of different species, which you've probably noticed by now. I guess all of you. Start with the basics. I'm sure you're aware, but unlike the mammalian aurochs, we are reptiles. Though this makes me wonder about you. Based on your fur, I guess that you're a mammal, but you're very different from other mammals that we know. In the same vein, you don't share many characteristics with our reptiles back home. And by the way, we don't have fur, but hair. What's the difference? Fur's more dense than hair. Fur has a set length, hair keeps growing. Is that true? Let's go with that one. We regularly cut it. Cool. Okay, I was wondering something. Are you wearing all those coverings to make up for a lack of hair? I suppose that's one reason why humans wear clothes. Yeah, you don't want to get too cold. They also provide warmth and protection, and are used to differentiate us from one another. Sometimes uniforms are used as identification. Other times, clothes are just ornamental. What a person wears can tell us something about the person itself, like fashion accessories, this kind of thing. Sounds complicated. We also have uniforms and wear some things for ornamental reasons, though our uses aren't quite as extensive. That brings up an interesting question. Are you endo or exothermic? Or does that mean they don't generate their own heat? Is this what we're asking? We produce our own body heat. Us kind of like a warm-blooded then. That's unusual. Where I come from, all reptiles are endothermic, unless you count birds as reptiles, I guess. But none of your reptiles are sentient, correct? Maybe it has something to do with our different brain structures. Maybe. Now that you've been in our world for a while, how do you like it here? I like the people, I like the landscape. I like the people. Good to hear. Cultural differences can make things very difficult sometimes, even within the same species. I'm glad things are working out for you so far. Oh, I just remembered. I was able to save my game after all. Your interference was only a minor setback. Oh yeah, in the other chapter, I kind of went into his computer. He was playing an RPG and I crashed his game. Don't do that. Good job, Remy. You're awesome. Glad to hear it. Okay, glad to hear it. I was quite relieved when I found out. You know, if it hadn't worked out so well, I would have had to consider making you play up to that point again for me. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind playing some of your video games. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Play some games. Is that so? What am I doing now? Come on, let's play the game. Yeah, they're fun. I'd like to see what kinds of games you have here. I'll keep that in mind. Perhaps I can show you sometime. You know, I'm glad you're here. Since you arrived in our world, we haven't really had the chance to just sit down and talk. I agree. Didn't know you wanted to chat. I'm usually not a sit down and talk kind of person. I don't know. I'm trying to be Obviously, Remy is kind of like a quiet, inhibited, quiet person, so I don't really want to get a bit too loud with him. Let's go with I agree. It's been a busy time for me, as you can imagine. Of course, thanks for taking the time to pay me a visit. No problem. I always have so many things to take care of that it's hard for me to find time to do something simple like this. At least it worked out this time. You do have a point though, I don't really know much about you. I know where you work, but most of our conversations so far have revolved around things other than you and me. Why don't you tell me more about yourself? Let's get to know him. I don't like talking about myself. Okay, you're shy. Why? I guess I wouldn't know what to say. I'm not really that interesting. I don't believe ya. There's also the uncertainty of not knowing how another person will react to something I say. I don't want to embarrass myself. Hey, at least you told me that. That's a start. I guess so. Anyway, now you've seen my apartment, I'm wondering what your home on the other side of the portal looks like. Nothing special. Yours is prettier. Actually, everything here looks nice in comparison to back home. Is that so? Yeah, it's all kind of blown up and destroyed and stuff. In some ways, I'm not really looking forward to returning, but it's not like I have a choice in the matter. I suppose you could always visit if you wanted to. It's not that easy, I'm afraid. There was an extensive process involved for selecting who would go through the portal, and I was only one of many applicants. I'm still surprised that I ended up being chosen. At least you're here now. Indeed. So, what have you been up to since last time I saw yous? I mean, since I went into the kitchen to cook the steaks? Wow. That's supposed to be a joke. Yeah, that's what I meant. Really? I don't know. No. Oh, I believed you for a moment. I guess you got me there. With all the talking, I totally forgot about dessert. Oh, there's more. I'm on a diet. Would it happen to be a cream pie with a cherry on top? I'm up for it. Give me, what you got? Got just the right thing for you. Just a minute. He's so civil, isn't he? He nearly stacked our dishes before he took them into one of his forepaws and went back into the kitchen using his other 3 limbs. I couldn't help but think that it looked pretty awkward. When he returned, balancing a plate with a rather attractive cake slice in a similar manner, I realised he would have had to make multiple trips to carry everything to the table. Do you want to handle that, pal? Don't worry about it, I can handle it, you're my guest. Fine. Once he placed the first cake slice on the table, he went back to fetch the other. When he approached the table a second time, though, one of the tiny dessert forks started to slip off the plate. Remy reached with his free forepaw in his attempt to save it, but lost balance without its support and fell over. In an instant, the plate, fork and cake slice flew through the air. The dish and silverware clattered as the pristine cake crumbled into a sad heap on the floor. You dropped it, you clumsy. Oh wow. Got your bum sticking out like that. You dropped the cake. For a few moments there was a silence as Remy and I looked at the results of his blunder. Sorry about that. Don't apologise, it's fine. I'll eat your slice instead. I don't really want dessert anyway. Don't apologise, goddamn. It's your house. This isn't just about you and your cake. This always happens to me, no matter how hard I try. You have proper hands, so do some of the other species. How can someone like me even be a librarian? Not a day goes by without me dropping a scroll and unfurling it across the room. But the customers don't care, or pity me too much to say anything. It's a common sight for them after all. This is about Emma, isn't it? She's always putting this guy down. I guess it is. I just don't see why someone like me got to be a librarian when there are others more qualified for the position, or who are at least capable of not dropping the inventory on a daily basis. She makes fun of you for it. Yeah, she's a right bastard. I knew it. I mean, why else would she have me do all these tasks all the time? Sorting books, carrying things from one place to another? I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't work somewhere where my worth is only the entertainment I provide. Why don't you look for a new job then? These positions have terms similar to those as ministers. If I ended my employment prematurely, it wouldn't look good. How long you got left? A while. Resign, consequences be damned. Can't you report it? You just have to endure it. Can you report it? Do something constructive. Not really. It's not like I can prove anything. Her public and private demeanour are 2 very different things, and it would be my word against hers. It's true, she's quite manipulative like that. I just wanted to have a nice evening with you, and now it ended up like this. I shouldn't have brought that up. Don't worry about it. It's still a nice evening. Maybe I should stop being such a sourpuss then. I'll help you clear up. Cheers. We cleaned up together, and by the end he seemed to be in higher spirits. Afterwards, we said our goodbyes and I left, not sure what to think.